Hello, loves. Welcome in. Welcome to Murder Mystery Mondays. We had Thanksgiving week off because of the holidays, but we're back. And I just checked how far along in the book we are. We are 88% of the way done. I feel like every time we end a live stream, the cliffhangers get worse and worse in the best possible way. If you are here watching, could you let me know if you can see and hear me okay? And also tell me how your Thanksgiving was. What's something you cooked or ate that was just absolutely delicious? And let me see. I made most of Thanksgiving dinner this year, which was very new for me. I hadn't ever been in charge of it before. It was a nice challenge. I enjoyed it. I think my favorite thing, though, it's gotta be our family's corn casserole. It's just delicious. It's very easy to make. The ingredients cost $5, but it's always a hit. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much about Thanksgiving because we have a whodunnit to get to. If you're new and don't know, we're going through the book Murder in the Family by Cara Hunter. And if you hang on for just a second, I will go to our web browser. Oh, it's doing it again. I have to do this thing where I have to tell it to look at something else, and then it'll let me see what I want to see. So let me just show you my ambiance video that I was listening to earlier. Now it will scroll for you. Okay. Let's go through what we know so far. Our victim is Luke Ryder. We've learned that he is a serial identity thief. He's stolen more than one identity. We don't actually know his true identity yet. I think we're getting close, but not quite there yet. We know that he was found in the backyard of his home with a head injury, one to the back of the head and a lot to the front of the face. My working theory is that someone clobbered him from behind and then finished the job when he was dazed or unconscious. We know that there were no security cameras. There were no signs of a break-in, so he likely knew the person. The perp knew the entrance code, and there were 40 minutes between when he was last seen and when he was first found, which isn't a lot of time, but I guess it is plenty of time to commit a murder. He was presenting as Australian, had the accent and everything, but he wasn't, actually. Again, we don't know who he was for real, but we just keep guessing. A few things background-wise we need to refresh ourselves on. Who is Luke Ryder as we know him, and why does it matter that he's the victim? To know that, we need to go back to our little family tree here. Andrew Howard married Amanda Granger and had Rupert Howard. Amanda died in a car crash quite suddenly and unsuspectedly. Andrew Howard then married Caroline Farrow. She was the nanny. I'm going to sneeze. Ooh. Maybe. Okay, I think it's gone. Woo! I hate when it's just there, but it won't actually commit. Oh, the worst. So Andrew married his nanny. Caroline was Rupert's nanny, so quite the scandal. They married and got 3 children out of the deal: Mara, Amelie, and Guy. Guy is important because he is the director of our fictional TV show, the one that's trying to solve this whodunit. And if you don't know anything about the crime, it's a 20-year-old cold case. So this was fully investigated by a team of professionals, and no one solved the murder. Guy was only 10 years old at the time of the murder. And he, now grown up, has decided to use the TV show he is in charge of to try to solve it. Now, Andrew, over here, died of a heart attack. And the story sort of glossed over that. but it was very sudden, and he was apparently quite healthy, so it came as a shock to everybody. And we all know, us true crime people, know how easy it is to fake a heart attack with other things. Just put that in your bonnet for later. It could mean nothing. I'm just thinking. Lots of thoughts. Now, Luke met Caroline after Andrew passed through Rupert. Rupert introduced them. Rupert and Luke were actually friends. So it was quite another scandal for Caroline, who was quite a bit older, to be normal, for that relationship to be normal, than Luke. But they hit it off. They got married. They didn't have any kids, but their marriage seemed to be quite a good one. Now, let me read you the summary of the book so that we can just get our bearings. Luke Ryder was married to Caroline Howard. They hadn't known each other very long, and the marriage had been controversial. Caroline had been the Howards' au pair, and there was quite a scandal when Andrew Howard married her within weeks of his wife's death. Oh yeah, that's right. His wife, Amanda, died, and then he just up and marries Caroline as if nothing happened. I think the car crash was a bit suspicious, but that's just me. I'm a suspicious person, especially when we're solving a cold case. It was raining heavily by the time the police got to the crime scene, but there were still some dry patches of paving under the body, suggesting the rain started after he fell. Here are some important people we need to refresh ourselves on. Suspects. Caroline Howard. I feel like she's probably not a main suspect at this point. She had no apparent motive. She didn't commit the crime for any inheritance because she wouldn't have received it even if Luke passed away. She was at a party at the time of the murder, and she was accounted for around the time of the murder. She was seen smoking out back, which is why her shoes were muddy. Some people thought that maybe she had left the party, committed the murder, and then come back. But she's pretty accounted for, so I think we're okay there. We did learn, not last week, but the week before, that she had had a child before marrying Andrew Howard. So before Luke and before Andrew, she had a baby that nobody was aware of. But they saw on some home movies a cesarean scar. Her kids didn't know. Guy, the director, was shell-shocked and walked out of the room. Just couldn't process. So we're thinking she's got stuff to hide, but I don't know if that qualifies her as a suspect. Rupert Howard, the son, the only person who's not a son of Caroline, he didn't have an apparent motive either, and he seemed genuinely surprised when he found that Luke wasn't Luke, that he had stolen an identity. He also insists he wasn't in London at the time of the crime. To be determined if that's true, but that's our working evidence for now. I'll get to the mystery caller in a minute. We'll go through the day's events of what happened right up to the murder. Now, Mara has got some stuff to hide, and that's actually where we left off last episode. They were just about to interview her about some things. Mara got home from the party with her sister Amelie. They were at a party, they were at a theater at the time. They came home, and it was 22 minutes after they came home that they decided to call Caroline at the party about the murder. Why did it take them 22 minutes? Suspicious. She also got very emotional during an interview in episode 4 about therapy, about a suspicious fire at a school. We got no context for that, just a one-liner, so we don't know anything about it. But she got emotional, and she doesn't seem characteristically emotional. So either they hit a very big nerve, or she was faking. I don't know which one it was. Him, I think we can dismiss entirely. I put him there because he seems suspicious, but I think we're good, so we'll ignore him for now. our investigative team, our beloved investigative team that gets more convoluted by the episode. So we have Alan Canning, a retired senior police officer. He has a sister, Eileen, who was conned by Luke Ryder. One thing that we're learning is that almost everyone has some sort of personal connection to the victim, the family, or the murder. And that was by design. So not Guy, but his right-hand man under him planned all of this. He actually handpicked the investigative team because of how they connected to the case, so that he could pull its strings and unravel little surprise things as the series went on to keep it interesting. We just found out that is a fact. He admitted to it. So everyone's a little salty with him for not having been told that's why they were chosen. But I digress. So again, they all have a connection with something to do with the crime scene, the murder, the family, Luke. Alan has a sister who was conned by Luke. He also put out an ad for Luke Ryder to find him and perhaps exact revenge. He also has an ongoing alpha battle with Bill Serafini. Bill Serafini, William R. Serafini Jr., he's a private investigator from New York. He's the only person that is not British in this team. He was hired to work the inheritance case to disinherit Luke Ryder 5 years before Luke Ryder's murder, and didn't tell the team. So if you remember, let me adjust my foot here and make a lot of chair noises. This is the creakiest chair I've ever owned. Luke, fake Luke, found out that the identity he had stolen, had a grandma who was going to leave him an inheritance. So Luke, having stolen the identity, goes to the grandma, who had never met the person she was going to leave the inheritance to, by the way, which I found very weird, but maybe that's a thing, and schmoozed his way into her good graces so that he could inherit. She fell in love with her grandson, and the rest of the family were furious. They wanted the fortune. They wanted the money. They wanted the jewelry. So they hired Bill Serafini to investigate, to see if Luke was really Luke. But he didn't tell the team that he knew all of this pre-information. He bided his time to share that in a huge gotcha moment. He and Alan, they've got beef. They both want to be the leader of this gang, and they're both taking turns trying to outdo the other. We've got Mitchell Clark. He was a freelance journalist. He is a freelance journalist. He was at the scene of the crime on the night of the murder. He also has a personal connection with the family. And that connection, we found out last episode, was he was in a relationship with Mara Howard when she was 15. So not only was she a minor, and he was not, which was quite scandalous of its own thing, but he was at the scene of the crime. He played out the scene one way, but what we found out was Mara had basically butt-dialed him. I don't know if she meant to call him, but she did. And he heard on the other line heavy breathing. And he wasn't sure what was going on. But she sounded distressed. He heard moaning in the background, which, I'm just putting it out there, could have been Luke right after he was wabammed on the noggin. I'm just putting it out there. We have no proof yet. So that's Mitchell. Layla Furness is our only lady on the investigative team. She's a forensic and clinical psychologist. J.J. Norton, he's the forensic investigator, and we haven't really learned much about him yet and his connection to the case. We also know Hugo Fraser. He's a very handsome attorney, and he was the man Caroline Howard, our lovely Caroline Howard, the au pair Caroline Howard, had an affair with. So if you recall, Amelie came home unexpectedly from school one day and didn't call her mom, just walked home. It's a very walkable neighborhood. And heard some noises upstairs in her mother's bedroom. I'll let you deduce what that was. So Caroline, while married to Luke Ryder, had an affair with someone, and we never knew what it was or who it was. We just learned last episode that it was Hugo. Now, this is a scandal all its own because this took place a little bit in the past where people of different color having a relationship was quite frowned upon in certain circles. So they obviously wanted to keep their relationship secret for more than one reason. Now, let's refresh ourselves on the timeline of the day of the murder before we jump into actually reading. Let me just double check that everyone can see and hear me okay. Okay, sounds good. At 8:35 a.m., Caroline leaves to drive Guy to school. Girls go on foot. 9 a.m., cleaner arrives, Beatrice Alves. 9:15 a.m., Caroline returns to the house. 9:46 a.m., phone call from dry cleaner. 11:15 a.m., Caroline leaves for lunch. 2 p.m., Alves leaves. 2:37, mysterious phone caller lasted 2 minutes 33 seconds. Too long for a wrong number. We don't know who this is at this time. 2:45 p.m., Caroline returns from lunch. At 3:30 p.m., Caroline leaves to collect dry cleaning and pick up Guy from school. 4:15 p.m., Mara and Amelie return from school. 4:45 p.m., girls leave for party. 7 p.m., girls leave party. At 7:15 p.m., girls come home, have pizza. At 8:15 p.m., Caroline takes the girls to a movie in Notting Hill. At some point, Caroline returns home. And at this point, we learned that Caroline and Luke were scheduled to go to a little drinks party. Luke, at the last minute, declines and says he's not going to go. This was not planned. This was a last-minute change, so Caroline goes to the party by herself and Luke stays behind to watch Guy. 9 p.m., Caroline leaves for the drinks party. At 9:30 p.m., Guy is sent to bed by Luke. Now, this is important because Caroline had promised that Guy could stay up until 10 to watch this special show. It was Friday night. He didn't have school the next day. She had no problem keeping him up. But Luke, quite oddly, sent him to bed. Was it because he was going to meet someone and didn't want Guy to see? At the same time, at 9:30, Caroline is seen speaking with the hostess, Phyllis, at the party. So she's accounted for at that point. At 9:35 p.m. to 10:20 p.m., the murder occurred, somewhere in there. At 10 p.m., Mara gets home from being dropped off by Mitchell on street corner. I just added this last episode because we just learned this new information. So, Mara and Amelie had a bit of an arrangement. What they would do is they would pretend to go to the movies or somewhere. Amelie would stay, and Mara, because she was accounted for, would sneak off with Mitchell, and they would hang out in her room. Her room was separate from the house. It was attached but separate, so they could do whatever they wanted with a lot of privacy. So at this point, she's supposed to be at the movies, but she's not. She goes off with Mitchell, and he picks her up on the street, he drops her off at the street corner so she can walk home. At 10:30 p.m., the story is that Mara and Amelie returned home from the movies. We know that's not quite true. At 10:35, Mara accidentally calls Mitchell, the butt dial, who heard moaning on the other line and heavy breathing. At 10:52, Mara called Caroline at drinks party about the murder. At 11:30 p.m., police arrive at party to retrieve Caroline and bring her home and tell her all about the murder. And that's where we left off. I did add this note here. What if Mara called Mitchell to help clean up the murder? Maybe Mara did it, or is she protecting Amelie because she did it? There's a connection between the sisters that I'm convinced is going to play a part at some point. But we're not sure how quite yet. So that is where we are. I think I've caught you up at this point. We actually stopped mid-episode because it was such a long one. So we have learned all of this that I just told you. And they're like, well, there's some things that we need answers from, and only Mara can give us those answers. And then they pulled her in for an interview, and that's where we left off. My Thanksgiving was okay. We had the flu. Oh, no. I'm so sorry to hear that. Thankfully, I won't read that out loud, but that is funny. God's plan was obviously for us to slow down and be thankful for each other. I know. Sometimes that's what it takes, is for us to get ill, to slow down and take a minute. We live in such a go, go, go busy society. I kind of find it surprising that this group is astonished by the actions of the producer. It's not like they aren't known for creating drama. Also, ethics are considered a gray area in this industry. That's true. I would agree with that, except these are a police force, basically, and they probably see things in a much more black and white viewpoint. Their speciality isn't TV. They're not used to being on TV. Yes, you can kind of in the background know that TV shows live off drama, and they'll probably throw some things into the mix to stir it up, but if that's not your profession, you're not going to think like a TV director would. If I was going into a TV show like this, in the back of my mind, I would think, oh, they're probably going to throw some surprises at us, but I wouldn't know to the depth with which they would do it, and would most likely be surprised at the antics that at least this director is doing. Before we dive into reading, I am going to open my Olipop. I saved it for going live so you could hear the crisp sound of me opening it. It's a lemon lime. I love all Olipop's flavors. Are you ready? Ooh, that's a good one. Cheers. I'm gonna get lipstick all over that, but that's fine. Okay. Are we ready to dive in? Oh, I forgot. I went back a couple pages so that we could review. Something we learned is that Mara went to the movies with one outfit, but was discovered in a different outfit when the police arrived. So keep that under your hat. They start to go through the paperwork. Bill finds it first. Bill Serafini. Here we are. Gray hoodie, white t-shirt, jeans. Looks up at JJ, still by the board. Does that stack up? JJ, looking back at him. Yep, as far as it goes, but how many white t-shirts and pairs of jeans does your average teenager have? I'm not sure it's what you could call conclusive. She could easily have changed before the police got there. Layla Furness. What about the hoodie? JJ Norton. She's not wearing that in these earlier shots, but to be fair, that could be because she's indoors and didn't need it. Hugo Fraser. Hang on a minute. This new version of events of yours. Alan. Explain how Luke ends up wearing a jacket. A couple of people look at him blankly, but Bill's quicker. Bill Serafini. I see where you're going. If he's supposed to have been watching TV when he saw Mara out the window, why does he take the time to put on a jacket before going out to confront her? You just wouldn't, would you? Even if it was raining, which we know it wasn't, not by then. Alan Canning shrugs. It's no big deal. Maybe he wasn't watching TV. Maybe he was about to go out and work on the motorbike. Cut again to reconstruction. Camera rewinds to the point where Mara appears on the terrace and starts again. This time Luke is standing in the drawing room, in his black denim jacket when he sees her. The rest of the sequence plays as before. Cut to team. Layla Furness. Though he didn't have the workshop keys on him when he died, did he? We talked about that already. Alan Canning, unperturbed. Perhaps Mara turned up at the very moment he was looking for them. Hugo Fraser. I'm not convinced. I think the known facts fit another scenario much better, i.e., that someone else turned up that night, unexpectedly or otherwise, and Luke decided to talk to them outside the house.
hence the jacket. If you ask me, Mara didn't have anything to do with it.
A pause.
Though I do accept that what Mitch told us raises some significant questions, most notably the fact that it's possible she got home early enough either to commit the murder herself, as Alan's suggesting, or to know rather more about it than she's ever admitted. There's a sudden noise, and the camera pans round to see the doors to the adjoining room swinging open. Everyone turns to see Mara standing there, a hand on each door.
That's where we left off last episode, but we're going to jump right in now.
You want to know what happened? Fine. Just ask me. I'll tell you what happened. Slow fade out.
Cut to Nick Vincent, plain black background, close up and direct to camera. Nick Vincent, producer.
By this point in the series, you've heard a lot about the rather controversial way we've gone about making it. We've been accused of underhandedness, exploitation, even fraud. But I make no apology for any of it. Why? Because in a few short months, we've managed to crack a case that has defeated the Metropolitan Police for 2 decades. That's right. After all these years, we finally know the truth. We know who killed Luke Ryder. Hold on to your hats. I can promise you, this is going to be one heck of a ride.
Fade out. Cut to Dorney Place. Mara is still at the interconnecting doors, and Guy is now standing a few feet away. The team are in the foreground, round the table, all turned toward Mara. Guy Howard, taking a step toward his sister.
Mari, you don't have to do this.
Mara Howard. Oh, you think? I heard every bloody word they said. And that jerk, pointing at Alan, her hand shaking, just accused me of murder.
Guy Howard, moving closer. He didn't. Not really. They're just trying to eliminate possibilities. No one's really believing you did anything.
Mara Howard. Really? Well, that's not how I heard it. She pushes past him into the room and comes to a stop in front of Alan. You want to know what happened? Then ask me to my face, why don't you? She drags out a chair with deliberate vehemence and slams it down a few feet from him, then sits back, openly hostile. Alan Canning, calmly.
Okay, if that's the way you want it. Let's hear it. Tell us your version of what happened that night.
Mara Howard. It's not a version. Alan Canning shrugs.
Version, account, your truth, whatever. No need to get hung up on semantics. Let's start with the film. Your mother took you and Amelie to the gate in Notting Hill and brought you your tickets. It was intolerable cruelty, right?
Mara Howard, muttering under her breath. How apt was that? Alan Canning, evidently intrigued but not allowing himself to get sidetracked.
The program began at 8 and was due to finish around 10:15. So allowing for the time to walk back, you and Amelie should have been home by 10:30.
Waits for her to reply, but she doesn't bother.
Though evidently you had other ideas. You left the cinema almost immediately and were picked up by Mitch.
Alan gestures at Mitch, and, almost despite herself, Mara looks across at him. The two lock eyes for just a moment. There's been a lot of water under the bridge since they were last in the same room. Mara looks away again. Her lip is trembling slightly. Mitch has his back to the camera, but we see Layla give him an anxious glance. Mara Howard.
Right.
Alan Canning.
You spend the next 2 hours at his place, after which he dropped you back on Larbert Road at just before 10. You'd arranged to meet Amelie there so you could walk back together.
Mara nods. She's still not making eye contact.
But Amelie wasn't there when Mitch dropped you off, was she?
Mara hesitates for a tiny moment, then shakes her head.
When did she get there?
Mara Howard. About 5 minutes later. She was mad with me. She'd wanted to go to her mates rather than the film, but I needed her to be there to cover for me. Alan Canning.
What time did the two of you get back to Dorney Place?
Mara Howard. About 10:30. You know that. Alan Canning.
But you didn't call 999 till 10:47. Why the delay?
Mara Howard, rolling her eyes. How many more times? We went to the kitchen to get a Coke or something to eat. There was no sign of Luke.
Alan Canning. Don't you mean Beatrice? Surely you were expecting her to be babysitting, not Luke.
Mara Howard, flushing slightly. Of course. What I meant was there was no one around.
Alan Canning. Didn't that worry you? I mean, Beatrice was supposed to be there, wasn't she?
That's the cleaning lady, for anybody who doesn't remember.
Your mother wouldn't have left your brother alone.
The cleaning lady often babysat. Mara Howard, staring at him for the first time. When Beatrice babysat, she usually spent the whole time ironing. I suppose I assume that's where she was.
Alan Canning. She didn't iron in the kitchen.
Mara Howard, sarcastically. We have a laundry room. The clue's in the name, genius. Alan Canning, refusing to be patronized.
Okay, so what about the doors to the terrace? Were they open or shut?
Mara Howard. Look, you know all this. Alan Canning, with a dry smile.
Humour me.
Mara Howard. They were closed, okay? Alan Canning.
And what happened next?
Mara Howard. Me and Amelie talked for a bit, had our Coke, then she went upstairs and I headed out to my room. Her room is detached from the house, remember? A pause. That's when I found him. And no, I am not going to go through all that again.
Alan Canning. So, to recap, you didn't go straight home after Mitch dropped you off, you waited for your sister.
Mara Howard. Right. He moves into quickfire questioning now.
Alan Canning. You didn't see anyone leaving the house when you got home.
Mara. No.
You didn't argue with Luke because he accused you of being with Mitch rather than at the cinema.
No.
It wasn't your hair caught in his jacket zip.
Mara, her eyes widening. No.
Alan. Was he abusing you?
She gasps a little. There's a heartbeat's pause before she answers. No.
What about Amelie? She was younger, more easily manipulated. Was she the one he targeted? Was that why you both hated him so much?
Mara, acidly. Look, we just didn't like him, okay? End of. Not everything is child abuse, you know. Not that you'd know it from all the TV crime.
Alan Canning. What did you wear to the cinema?
Mara, shrugging, slightly struggling to keep up with all his changes of direction. The same as at the party. Jeans, a t-shirt, trainers.
Alan. And a jacket, surely. I mean, it was cold. It rained earlier in the day and was forecast to do so again.
Mara. Right. Sorry, I had that hoodie thing Mum got me as well.
Just that? I can't see that being much use in a downpour.
Mara, smiling despite herself. Yeah, that's exactly what Mum said. But I didn't have a coat I liked. Just my school thing, which I wouldn't have been seen dead in on a Friday night.
Alan Canning. And that hoodie was the same one the police collected later that night, along with the rest of your clothes?
Right.
All of which tested negative for blood.
Mara, frowning again. Yeah, so? Why wouldn't they?
Alan. You found the body. It wouldn't be so very odd for there to be at least some blood on you, especially the hoodie.
Mara, shaking her head. I never got that close. I told you, I ran, as soon as I saw what it was.
Alan. So you didn't swap the hoodie for another one, a clean one?
Why would I do that?
Maybe it did have blood on it. Too much blood to be explained by you merely finding the body.
In case you've forgotten, Inspector Canning, your lot searched the whole bloody house. I mean, I know they're all incompetent, but even that bunch of Keystone cops would probably have managed to find a hoodie with a bucket load of blood all over it.
Alan. Not if you'd stuck it in with the washing machine before... not if you'd stuck it in the washing machine before you called them.
Mara, sarcastic. Oh, yeah. And how exactly was I supposed to do that, Einstein? The bloody machine was already on. She stops, suddenly and horribly aware of what she'd just said. Her cheeks burn red, and she turns away.
Alan. So somebody else. had put the washing machine on. Before you got home. Who?
Mara, not meeting his gaze.
Don't ask me, Alan. I am asking you.
Mara, how am I supposed to know? Mum, I suppose.
Alan, but didn't you tell us, right at the start of all this, that your mother never did the laundry? That she hated doing it? Isn't that why she hired Beatrice in the first place?
Mara, shrugging. So it must have been Beatrice who put on the machine. What's the big deal? She stops and bites her lip.
Alan Canning, quietly. It's a big deal, because Beatrice wasn't there that evening. She'd left the house by 2 p.m. There isn't a washing machine on the planet that has a cycle lasting 8 hours.
There's a silence.
It was Amelie, wasn't it?
It isn't a question. She doesn't reply.
Do you know what I think happened?
She turns away. She seems on the verge of tears.
I don't think you walked home with Amelie after Mitch dropped you off at all. I think you stood around waiting for her for quite a while before you realized she must have left the film early, just like you said. So you headed home, assuming she'd already be there, and you were right. She was. But nothing could have prepared you for what you found.
Cut to reconstruction. As previously shown, Mara gets out of the Ford, but this time she waits there on the street, checking her watch. She hangs around for a while, then starts down toward Dorney Place, where she taps in the entry code at the gate and goes down the drive. She lets herself into the house, but there's no one around. Looking slightly confused, she goes into the kitchen. She can hear a noise, and when she opens the door to the utility room, she sees that the washing machine is on. She looks perplexed, but then something makes her turn around. It's Amelie, blood on her face, as white as a sheet. Something terrible has happened.
Alan Canning. She was desperate, panicking, half out of her mind. She says she didn't realize it would be Luke babysitting, or she'd never have come home early. She says they had a god-awful row. Maybe she'd threatened to tell her mother what he'd been doing to her, who knows.
He continues to speak over reconstruction.
Whatever the trigger, there was a struggle, and at some point, her hair got caught in the zip of his jacket. She managed to get away and tried to escape across the garden, but he followed her, ran her down at the steps. They struggled again. Maybe she pushed him, maybe he slipped.
Cut back to Dorney Place. Mara has her hand to her mouth, sobbing noiselessly. Guy steps forward and puts his hand on her shoulder. Alan Canning.
She doesn't know what to do. She begs you to help her, and you say you will. She's your sister, and you love her, and you agree to help her cover it up.
Mara, shaking her head. No, it wasn't like that. Layla Furness, gently. What was it like then, Mara? Mara, her voice breaking. She never asked me to help her. She didn't even know I was there. Bill Serafini.
Hold on. What did you just say?
Mara Howard, taking a deep breath. Guy tightens his grip on her shoulder. When I got back, I went into the kitchen and saw her in the utility room. She looked like she was rinsing something. I couldn't see what it was, but it looked like there was blood on it. Then she opened the machine and put whatever it was inside and turned it on. It was a bit weird because I knew there were already clean clothes in there from earlier, and she didn't bother taking them out, just put it on again. Bill Serafini.
You didn't ask her about it?
Mara, shaking her head. No, I didn't want to embarrass her. Look, I thought she must have had an accident with her period. She'd only just started back then, and I just assumed it was that.
Bill Serafini. So you just backed off? Didn't let on you were there?
Mara hesitates, then nods.
Then what happened?
Mara. I went straight out towards my room. She falters, and puts her hand on her mouth again.
Bill Serafini. At which point you realized where the blood had really come from.
She glances up at him, then nods again.
And you decide that you're going to protect her. You're not going to let your 13-year-old sister spend the rest of her life in jail, whatever it takes.
Mara reaches up blindly and grasps Guy's hand.
So then what? Mara. I went back inside, and she was there, in the kitchen. She looked awful, but didn't say anything. I told her Luke was dead, and she tried to look surprised, but I knew she wasn't. Not really. I told her I was going to call the police, and that when they got there, we should say we'd been at the cinema all night, and had only just got back. That otherwise people might think we had something to do with it. Layla Furness. And what did she say to that? Mara Howard. She didn't really say anything. Just that she was going to go up and check on Guy. She looks up. There are tears running down her face. That's when I knew. I knew she'd done it. Freeze frame and slow fade. End credits. Oh my goodness. That's where that chapter ends. We're gonna keep going, don't worry. But, wow, that's a lot to process. What are your thoughts right now? I did find it weird that Amelie is the only person we haven't gotten an interview from. That always felt weird to me. That we got a lot of Mara, but we never got Amelie. Voicemails left for Amelie Howard by Mara Howard. Between 5:40 and 11:05 p.m. 14th of July, 2023. If you're there, please pick up. I need to talk to you. I've tried messaging you, but you're not answering. Please, it's important. Amelie, I've tried to call you 5 times. Call me. It's urgent. I'm outside your flat, but you're not answering the door. You're frightening me now. Where are you? Oh, and then we go into episode 8. Oh, okay. All right. Whoo. I need a sip. I need a drink. Oh my. Okay. We're diving straight in. Cut to Nick Vincent. Black background, direct to camera. Honestly, I had a feeling about the sisters. They just seemed to close ranks. Agreed. They were always talking in text between each other after every episode. Yeah, I agree. Nick Vincent, producer. We ended the last episode with a truly astonishing moment of television. A 20-year-old case solved, live on camera. Wait, pause. If we've already solved the case, why are we still only at 88% of the way through the book? Are we still only 88%? We're at 91% now. So we only have 9% of the book left. That feels like a lot. I feel like we're going to be hit with a lot of other things. Everyone hold on to your hats. A 20-year-old cold case solved, live on camera. In your heart, you wanted to believe it's Alan. Is he the villain in your story? Do you not like him? He is a bit of a jerk, but I think he's just a hardened cop. I don't feel much malice toward him. Obviously, he despised Luke Ryder because he's a protective big brother, but I feel like because, I mean, he could be a dirty cop. I don't want to say he was a cop so he wouldn't do that. We all know there's dirty cops out there. I mean, I'm going to hold my opinion until we keep reading. A murder no one has ever even suspected. For a filmmaker, it was like The Jinx all over again. Remember that? Robert Durst, a serial killer who'd managed to evade justice for decades, finally agreeing to speak on the record. And if that wasn't coup enough, that incredible last scene when he retreated to the bathroom thinking he was home and dry. Only there was one thing he'd forgotten. His mic was still on. What did I do? He says quietly, staring into the mirror. Killed them all, of course. Boom. No one thought that would ever be bettered, not in our industry. And in the 8 years since The Jinx was made, it never has been. Never, that is, until now. The makers of The Jinx naturally passed what they'd discovered to the authorities, and the night before the final episode aired, Robert Durst was arrested for first-degree murder. An incredible climax, but it came too late to feature in the series. We passed what we'd found out to the authorities, too. And over the course of this summer, the Met conducted their own investigation, including cutting-edge DNA testing on the hair found on the jacket. By October, they had enough evidence to make an arrest, and we had enough time to press pause on the series. Which means we're now able to show you this. He continues to talk over footage of Amelie Howard coming out of a block of flats, wearing handcuffs. She's followed by 2 uniformed police officers. The camera tracks them as they walk her to a police car, open the back door, and put her inside. She makes no eye contact with anyone. We thought we'd broken the case. We thought that, thanks to us, a line could be drawn under this case once and for all. Only we were wrong. That wasn't the end of it. Not by a long way. Cut to montage of news coverage of the arrest. Cutting-edge DNA technique identifies Luke Ryder killer. New evidence established Camden Hill killer beyond reasonable doubt. New suspect in Luke Ryder case may have been abused by him. Shock arrest in 20-year-old murder case. Stepdaughter questions over 2003 cougar killing. With an abuse victim outed on camera, has the true crime craze finally gone too far? Cut to footage of Guy, crowded by cameras and microphones. He's unshaven and looks pale, but he's calm and in control. Reporter 1. What's your reaction to this news, Guy? It must have come as quite a shock. Guy Howard. Well, yes. I mean, none of us expected this. It's the worst news we could possibly have. Reporter 1. Though it's down to you, isn't it? If you hadn't elected to make that documentary, none of this would have come out. Your sister would have got away with it. Guy Howard. It's not a question of getting away with it. She was a child under intolerable emotional pressure. Reporter number 1. So you can confirm, can you, that she was being abused by the man you knew as Luke Ryder? You have actual evidence of that? Guy Howard. No, but... Reporter 1. This new evidence the police have, those new DNA tests they ran, it proved the hair caught in the dead man's jacket was from your sister, right? Guy Howard. So I've been told. Reporter 2. And his real name was Jonah McKenna, a Canadian who faked his own death in 1991. Oh, that's the first I've heard that name. Hang on. Let's go to our lovely info board. Back to Luke Ryder's spot. Oh, let me move this out of the way. Luke Ryder's real identity is... what was it? Jonah McKenna, a Canadian. He faked his own death in 1991. Oh, that's right. We did read that. I forgot. We've had a lot thrown at us, okay? All right. Back to business. Apparently so. Reporter number 2. What can you tell us about him? Guy Howard. Nothing. I don't know any more than you do. I think the police are trying to track down his family. Reporter 3. What about your family? What do they think about all this? Do they blame you for your sister being arrested? Guy Howard, bridling slightly. It's not my fault. How was I to know what we would find? Reporter number 4. What about your mother, Mara? How do they feel about this? Guy Howard. My mother has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. She's not really in any state to... Reporter number 4. She must have known, though, surely. I can't see 2 teenage girls keeping a secret like this. Guy Howard. There is no suggestion my mother knew anything. Reporter number 4. Maybe not that night, but what about later? Didn't your sisters go into therapy? Didn't you? How could any mother not have known? Guy Howard. That's private. Reporter number 4. It's in your series, mate. That makes it public in my book. You can't have it both ways. Guy Howard, starting to back away. I don't have anything more to say. If you have any further questions, you can direct them to my lawyer. In the meantime, I'd be grateful if you could give me and my family some privacy. Reporter number 4. At this difficult time, yeah, right. Under his breath. And meanwhile, you milk it for all it's bloody worth. Reporter number 3, quietly agreeing.
Ratings up by 20%. At a conservative estimate. Cut to studio. There are dark clouds outside and rain spattering against the windows. Nick is at the table, as is Tarek. There are now 2 TV screens on the walls. Nick Vincent, producer. So I thought that with so much having happened, we should all get round the table one last time. And I'm pleased to say, Guy is joining us by Zoom from Somerset, where he's been staying with his mother. One of the TV screens comes to life. Guy is sitting in a room with a large garden visible beyond. The trees are bare and there's mist clinging to the hollows. Guy looks thinner than last time, subdued, untidy. He needs a haircut, and his clothes have not been ironed. He's on mute. Lay the furnace. Can I just say, Guy, on behalf of all of us, how sorry we are about how everything's turned out. It must be a terrible time for you and your family. I hope you're getting the help you need. And Amelie too. So much of what we've learned of her history makes sense now. If only someone could have seen that and intervened at the time. It's tragic, Guy. Truly tragic. Guy raises a hand in brief acknowledgement, but he doesn't unmute. J.J. Norton, looking round at the rest of the team. I don't know about anyone else, but it seems like years since we started all this. Or maybe I've just aged that much as a result. Bill Serafini, dryly, to Nick. Well, you must be pleased with how it's gone. You're all over the press. I've had calls from people I haven't spoken to in 30 years. Nick Vincent, producer. We are all over the press, Bill. It was a team effort. Hugo Fraser. It didn't always feel that way, Nick. Not to us. J.J. Norton. Though I'm still struggling to see how the police didn't solve this case at the time. It seems so obvious now. Didn't they notice the washing machine was on that night for a start? Lay the furnace, shrugs. It's a big house. If Amelie put the machine on a short program, it could easily have ended by the time the police got round to looking in the laundry room. J.J. Norton. And in any case, hindsight is a wonderful thing, blah blah. None of us saw it coming either, did we? And we went over this case with a fine-tooth comb for weeks. It's a bit rich to blame the Met on that basis. Glancing toward Guy. Let's face it, those girls did one heck of a good cover-up job. Hugo Fraser, under his breath. Maybe a bit too good. J.J. Norton, apparently not hearing him. Well, at least we're all off the hook now. All those coincidences that Nick kept wanting people to believe weren't coincidences at all. Hey, guess what, Nick? They really are a thing. Nick laughs, but says nothing. Lay the furnace, looking towards Guy, and then at Nick. How's Mara doing? Do we know? This must have come as an awful shock to her. On the TV screen, Guy is looking off left. He doesn't appear to have heard. Nick Vincent. Okay, I think. Lay the furnace. And Amelie? Nick Vincent. As far as I know, the police aren't saying much. J.J. Norton, sardonically. Well, they must be absolutely delighted with you, Nick, solving their case for them without it costing them a penny. All the loose ends tied up with a nice big shiny bow. Hugo Fraser. Though that's not quite true, is it? Several people turn toward him with questioning looks. On the screen, Guy glances up and frowns. Mitchell Clark, frowning. What are you getting at, Hugo? Hugo Fraser, sitting back. Well, there are still some loose ends, aren't there? What about the jacket? The black denim jacket Luke was wearing. A brief silence. Lay the furnace, making an effort to remember. Yes, we did discuss that, didn't we? You mean as in, why did he have the jacket on when he died? Hugo Fraser. Right. According to Nick's latest reconstruction, which I assume the police must think is a pretty fair approximation of what actually happened, Amelie got home, found Luke there. The two of them got into a violent row, and she tried to get away across the garden. Bill Serafini, nodding. In which case, why was he wearing a jacket? He was indoors when she got back. Hugo Fraser. Precisely. Lay the furnace. Hang on, didn't we talk about exactly that point when we were wondering whether it could have been Mara? Mitchell Clark. We did, and we concluded he could have been on the point of going over to the workshop.
Hugo Fraser, and I observed that a far simpler explanation would be that he'd either just met, or was about to meet, someone else, who he was planning to talk to out in the garden. His mystery caller from King's Cross, for example. J.J. Norton, half in jest, but only half. Oh, don't start that up again. It'll just give Nick another excuse to start pointing fingers at all of us. Hugo Fraser, cutting across him. And what about Amelie's injuries, as in the lack thereof? If the struggle with Luke was so violent her hair got caught in his zip, how come there wasn't a mark on her? There wasn't even a scratch. Lay the Furnace, frowning. We know that for certain, do we? Alan Canning. There's nothing about any injuries in the file, and I can't see the police missing that. J.J. Norton. Actually, Hugo's just made a very good point. What do you think, Nick? Can we find out if anyone's ever asked Amelie about that? Nick Vincent, smiling. Oh, I think we can do it a bit better than that, J.J. He nods toward Tarek, who taps his keyboard, and we begin to hear an audio recording. The sound quality isn't very good. It's slightly muffled, and it takes the team a few minutes to recognize the voices. It's two women, young women. One is asking the other how she is, if they're treating her okay. Hugo Fraser. Hold on. That's Mara. Nick Vincent, quietly. And Amelie. Right. Hugo turning to him. How did you get a hold of this? Nick Vincent. Just listen, Hugo. Just listen. Audio continues. Mara Howard. There was something else. Don't jump down my throat, okay? But Nick, the producer, he wanted me to ask you something. Amelie. That wanker. If it hadn't been for him, none of this would have happened. Guy was such a twat agreeing to do this show. That's not what she says. Mara Howard. Look, I know, but Nick was really bloody insistent, so I said I'd ask, okay? You can tell him to go away if you like, but he wanted to know why you didn't have any scratches or anything. That night, I mean, if you'd had a fight with Luke. Amelie. Right, yeah, tell him to go away. Mara Howard. Come on, A silence. The hair in the zip was definitely yours. They proved that. The lawyer told me. Amelie. Yeah, but that didn't happen then, did it? Look, I tried the thing on, okay? The jacket. A couple of days before. I always liked it, and I tried it on. That must have been when it happened. End of. Mara. So you didn't have a fight with him that night? Amelie, lowering her voice. Come on, you know I didn't. Mara. No, I don't. I don't know anything. Amelie. Oh, for Pete's sake. Mara, quietly. Was he abusing you? You can tell me, if he was. Amelie. Of course he wasn't. Mara. But you're letting everyone believe that. The police, the lawyer? Amelie. Like, duh, of course I am. It's what they all want to hear. They're practically gagging for it. Mara. But if Luke wasn't abusing you, then why? Why did you know? Amelie. Bludgeon him to death? Beat his face till his brain exploded? Really? Oh, come on. You know as well as I do, I had nothing to do with it. I don't know that. I don't know that at all. Amelie. You're kidding me, right? Mara. Of course I'm not. All these years, I thought I was protecting you. Amelie, barely audible now. You thought you were protecting me? Mara, whispering, almost hissing. What else did you think I was doing? I saw you. The blood in the sink, that thing with the washing machine. And then when I went out and found him, I just assumed. Mari, why didn't you say anything? Mara. What was I supposed to say? When I told you Luke was dead, you didn't look surprised at all. And when I said we had to tell the police we'd been at the cinema all night, you just agreed. You didn't even ask why. Why would you do that if it wasn't you? Amelie. Oh, no. Nick nods to Tarek, who pauses the audio. No! Don't pause the audio! Nick looks round at the team. I'm sorry, I'm so flustered. Nick looks around at the team, most of whom are in various stages of shock and disbelief. Hugo Fraser. So everyone got it wrong. The police, us, everybody. It wasn't Amelie. Nick Vincent. So it would seem. Lay the furnace to Nick. Mara recorded this for you. Nick Vincent nods. At HMP Heathside, where Amelie's on remand. J.J. Norton. So Mara thought Amelie done it, and Amelie thought Mara had, but neither of them said anything, so they never found out they'd both got it wrong. It's like something out of bloody Thomas Hardy. Alan Canning, turning to him. That's not quite what they said, though, is it? You're right, Mara definitely thought Amelie was the killer, but Amelie didn't say that about Mara, did she? Lay the furnace. Are you sure? I'm not sure that's how I heard it. Bill Serafini. Actually, I agree with Alan on this one. Pardon? You agree with Alan? Has hell frozen over? Mitchell Clark, looking confused. But if not Amelie, then who? Nick Vincent, with a wry smile. It seems Hugo was right about what he'd said earlier. There was someone else there that night. The mysterious caller, perhaps? He looks around the table and raises an eyebrow. The full implications of what he'd just said gradually sink in. Lay the furnace. Oh, here we go again. Nick Vincent. Well? Hugo Fraser. Seriously, you still think it could have been one of us? Even after everything we've said to prove otherwise. Nick Vincent shrugs. If the cap fits, Hugo. And in any case, I'm not sure how much actual proof any of you have offered. A shed load of outraged protestations of innocence, yes, but that's not proof. Not in my book. Mitchell Clark. Oh, come on. That was all just for effect, right? To get the viewing figures up? You never actually thought it was one of us. Bill Serafini, agreeing. It was all crap and he knows it. Nick Vincent. Do I? Our viewers don't appear to agree with you. I know for a fact, because we actually asked them. After episode 6 aired, before either of the girls were in the frame, we ran a poll on Twitter, asking our audience who they thought was most likely to be involved in the murder, and this is what they said. And, as you can see, pretty much none of you have been entirely convincing. The screen shows the poll results. Dry Riser Films, Ltd. Who do you think was most likely to have committed the crime? 15% voted Alan Canning. Oh man. Those of you who don't like Alan, he's the one people voted for most. Next in line at 14% is Mitchell Clark. At 13% is Hugo Fraser. 9% is Layla Furness. J.J. Norton is at 11%, and Bill Serafini is tied with Layla at 9%. Like Alan looking for his sister's betrayer. You may be right. You may be right. The audience seems to agree with you. We shall keep reading and see. I don't know. Alan feels like the easy villain to hate and want to be guilty. I have no proof of this idea, but I feel like it could have been Hugo. I don't have any motive for him. He just seems so put together. He's a lawyer, so he has probably learned all of the ins and outs of how to get around a crime. So he would know to call from a payphone. He would know which one to call where there wasn't any cameras. You know what I mean? It's sort of like a cop where you just know how to reverse your knowledge into villainy instead of heroism. I have no proof of that. I don't think he has any real motive. Unless he was having an affair with Caroline, so he cared about Caroline and her happiness. And if Luke wasn't making her happy, if Luke was doing something nefarious and he didn't like that and he felt protective enough to protect Caroline and maybe even the girls, although we've just learned that Luke wasn't doing anything bad to the girls, that could be, lovers quarrel?
but it's the two men and not Caroline, like the husband versus the boyfriend. I don't know. We will see. Lay the furnace. Oh well, I guess it could be worse. Hugo Fraser mock disappointed. But as for Alan, oh dear, oh dear. Alan Canning. To use your own phrase, pot or kettle, Hugo? J.J. Norton, staring at the screen, then turning to Nick. These are percentages, right? In which case you're missing someone. This only gets us to 71. Nick Vincent, producer. Well spotted. Always so useful to have a scientist in the room. You're right. We are missing someone. The screen updates to the full list. It adds Ian Wilson at 29%. Wait. Let's see. Okay. Ian Wilson. He's one of my suspects. He was a rugby player in his 20s, has, maybe fake, alibi for time of murder, claims to have been with an older woman in her 40s that same night, left on a trip 3 days after the murder, claims trip was previously planned. Was he really another identity stolen by Luke? I don't remember enough about him to be fully convinced, but Hugo Fraser. Ah, the elusive Mr. Wilson. I suppose that was the only to be expected. J.J. Norton. Though I'm not sure where it gets us, given he's still doing a very possible impersonation of the bloody Scarlet Pimpernel. Nick Vincent. Not so fast there, J.J. Turns out our viewers aren't the only people who've been in touch since the last time we were all around this table. They stare at him. Lay the furnace, looking from Nick to Tarek. You found Wilson? Nick Vincent. Much as I'd love to take the credit, he found us. He's been watching the series with immense interest, may I say. Alan Canning, under his breath. I bet he has. Nick Vincent. And given what he saw, he felt honor-bound to come forward. Hugo Fraser, sardonically. Oh, really? After all this time, he suddenly gets a bad case of late-onset moral responsibility. Nick Vincent. Bear with, Hugo, bear with. I want to highlight that quote, if I can, just because it's such a good one. After all this time, he suddenly gets a bad case of late-onset moral responsibility. That's so good. Lay the furnace, impatiently. For heaven's sake, what did he say? Nick Vincent. Let's take a look, shall we? Screen changes to interview with Ian Wilson. He's sitting at a marble top table in a beach Cassie, slow down. In a beachside bar. There are palm trees, low-rise houses with a gabled Dutch feel, and in the distance, shimmering orange dunes. He's tanned in a cream linen shirt with sunglasses propped on his head, and a Negroni on the table, and a cigarette smoking in an ashtray. His blonde hair is thinning, and he's got even heavier, but the confidence and self-assurance remain. Mitchell Clark. Where is that? Nick Vincent, glancing across. Swakopmund, on the coast of Namibia. These words. That's where he's been living. I'd never been before, but I can see why he chose it. Great climate, nice people. Hugo Fraser, caustically. I'm sure. And the absence of any extradition treaty with the UK no doubt only added to the attraction. Cut to interview, shown on the screen in the room, so we see the reaction of the team throughout. Nick Vincent. So, Ian, why are you breaking your silence now after all these years? You must have known the police have been wanting to talk to you for nigh on 2 decades. Ian Wilson. What accent did I give him? I don't remember. Does anybody remember what accent I gave him? Well, he's a rugby player, so he's probably a bit of a meathead. Okay, I'll just give him a bit of a Cockney accent. Of course, but on the advice of my lawyers, I decline to comply.
As they say in American cop shows. Nick Vincent. Until now. Ian. Right. Nick Vincent. So what changed your mind? Ian. I've been watching your series, just like everyone else, seeing all your little theories about how it went down. And then when you announced there was going to be some sort of hot big reveal and the finale was delayed, I put out some feelers. Found out the Met were on the point of arresting that girl, Amelie. Nick Vincent. And you think they've got the wrong person, is that it? Ian. I bloody know they have. Nick. Okay then, let's hear it. What really happened that night? Ian, picking up his drink. You were right about one thing. I was there. I did call Ryder from King's Cross that day. What? Pause. We must update the clue board. Okay. He claims to have called Luke Ryder from the payphone. Is he the mysterious caller? Oh. The plot doth thicken. There are a few gasps round the table. Hugo mutters, I bloody knew it. Nick surveys them with a smug smile, clearly enjoying their reaction. Nick Vincent. You arranged to go around there to talk to him? Ian. Right. I wanted to discuss the will. Florence's will. Ryder was going to get the whole thing, and I didn't think that was fair. Mum was getting on for a start. She wasn't well. Couldn't get about like she used to. That money would have made a massive difference. Oh, that's right. He was related to the grandma that was leaving Luke his inheritance. I forget who he is. A cousin? Another grandson? I'm not sure. I don't remember. But he's part of that family who was jealous of the inheritance being given to Luke, and probably some of the people that hired Bill Serafini as the private investigator. Nick Vincent. But you weren't exactly close to Florence, were you? Nor was your mother. Ian Wilson. No, but my dad was close to her husband. He and Victor Ryder were massive mates back in the day, and I know Vic would defo have wanted us to get something at least. He never even met bloody Luke. Knocks back a swig of his drink. Of course I didn't know then that Luke wasn't even Luke at all, so had no way to claim any of it. The self-righteous jerk. Makes a face. Probably just as well I didn't know, all things considered. Nick Vincent. So you went to Dorney Place to talk about the will. But before we go any further, since I know people are going to ask, you're admitting, are you, that your alibi was a fabrication? Ian, leaning forward for his cigarette. Of course it was. Nick. You got Christine to lie for you? Ian, smiling rather unpleasantly. Actually, she offered. I needed a favour, and she was only too happy to help. We'd been friends for years, as the Met would have discovered if they'd actually bothered to look. Blowing smoke in Nick's direction. In fact, she was the one who tipped me off about all this in the first place. Nick Vincent. She was taking quite a risk, giving you that alibi. She could have been prosecuted. Ian gives a short, dry snort. That'll make me laugh. Back then, the Met couldn't He is saying something very not nice. We'll just say couldn't find their brains if they had a map. She ran rings round those stupid people. And in any case, later on, after Mum died, I made it worth her while. Nick Vincent, nodding slowly. I did wonder how she managed to afford that B&B. Wilson raises an eyebrow and takes another drag, but says nothing. Nick, so let's get back to what actually happened that night. You arranged to go round there, but he didn't let you in, did he? Ian, picking up his cigarette and taking another long drag. He said he wanted to talk in the garden. It was just a power play, of course, treating me like some hairy pro? I don't know what that is. Nick Vincent. What happened then? Hopefully it's not a bad word, because I don't know what it is. Nick Vincent, what happened then? Ian, I tried to make him see reason. Obviously. Pause. Nick Vincent. And? Ian, evidently he wasn't in the mood for discussion. He leans forward and flicks ash into the dish. Things got a little heated. There was some rather undignified pushing and shoving and, well, he sort of slipped. Nick. Slipped? Ian, inhaling again. Right, on those steps. Bloody death trap they were, if you ask me. Frankly, I was surprised no one had broken their neck long before. Nick. You didn't push him, by any chance? Ian. No, I didn't. Nick. Not even a tiny little nudge? Ian. Nope. Sorry to spoil your big TV climax, mate, but he managed it all in his little lonesome. Okay, yes, he might have been slightly off balance, but that's because he was pushing me. That's his fault, not mine. Nick Vincent. But we know from the post-mortem that the blow he sustained to the back of his head was pretty serious. Certainly enough to knock him out. You didn't try to help him? Ian. I'm not a bloody medic. Nick. But you could have called 999. Ian takes another drag, clearly buying his time. I suppose I could, but by that time, I was more intent on getting out of there, mainly because I didn't want to be dragged into all the attendant things. Nick Vincent. Mainly? So that wasn't your only reason? Ian hesitates. If you really want to know, I saw a light go on in the house. Nick. A light? Where? Ian. Upstairs, above the terrace. Must have been at one of the bedrooms. Thought I saw someone at the window. Nick. So you legged it? Ian, his eyes narrowing. I made myself scarce, yes. Tripped over and nearly broke my own bloody neck in the process, but yes, I removed myself from the premises forthwith. Nick. So for the avoidance of doubt, the last time you saw Luke, he was unconscious, but broadly unharmed. Ian Wilson, reaching for his glass. Right. Nick Vincent. You didn't beat him up. Didn't harm him in any way. Ian. Nope. Never touched the bloke. Nick. Well, we know someone did. Did you see who? Ian. Slowly. Not as such. No. Nick. What does that mean? Ian. Look, I didn't see anything actually happen. It wasn't until the next day that I knew the bloke was even dead, never mind what'd been done to him. He reaches to flick ash again. The whole thing was completely screwed up. The police would never have believed me. They'd have thought I'd done it, and frankly, I would have too, in their position. If someone told me a story like that, I wasn't prepared to take that risk, not with a murder charge at stake. Nobody would have. Nick. So what exactly did you see? Ian, taking another drag. I legged it, like you said, but when I got to the corner of the house, I turned and looked back just for a sec. It was just starting to rain, but there was light streaming out from the house. The door to the terrace was open. Nick. It hadn't been open before? Ian, shaking his head. Definitely not. Remember, he never let me in. We went round the side of the house, and the back door was definitely closed then. Nick Vincent. So what did you see when you looked back? Ian. Like I said, it was a complete freak show. There was someone there, standing over him, just like staring at him. Nick Vincent. You didn't see this person actually hit him? Ian. No, but I saw what they had in their mind. Nick Vincent. You could see what it was, even in the dark. Ian. I'd just tripped over the thing not 5 minutes before. Of course I knew what it was. Nick Vincent. And you saw who did it? Ian. Yes, I saw who it was. Takes another drag. But like I said, no one would have believed me. Nick. Because? Ian. Because it was a kid. He couldn't have been more than 10. Just standing there like a zombie or something, with that bloody thing in his hand. It was like something out of the Omen. Scared the living crap out of me, if you really want to know. Nick Vincent, producer, you didn't go back. Didn't try to talk to him? Ian, are you kidding me? I got out of there, and I never looked back.
freeze frame. Guys. Was it Guy? Oh. It can't be Guy. It can't be Guy. He's the one leading this witch hunt. It cannot be Guy. It cannot. I need another drink. Just Lollipop, guys. Don't worry. It's nothing stronger. Oh my word. What are your thoughts right now? What's going through your mind? What are you thinking? Even if you're watching after the fact, I want to know. This is wild. Okay. Clue board. Ian claims he saw a kid standing over Guy's unconscious body. Oops, I spelled unconscious wrong. As he left, Guy slipped off the stairs. Or down the stairs, rather. He didn't see it actually happen. Didn't see Guy pick up the shovel, but saw he wanted to. Oh my goodness gracious sakes. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my goodness gracious sakes. Land, live, or laugh. I'm clutching my pearls. In the silence that follows, Nick reaches down beside his chair and puts something in a plastic evidence bag on the table. It's a child's cricket bat. The camera swings slowly round so that we can see the stricken faces of each of the team. We cannot see Guy. Layla Furness, her hand to her mouth. Oh my. Mitchell, where did you find that? Nick, upstairs. 2 days ago, when we were setting up for filming. Of course, we knew by then what we were looking for. Alan, I assume you don't need me to tell you that was an illegal search. I can't believe anyone gave you permission. Nick Vincent, evenly. No, they didn't. Hugo, gesturing at the evidence bag. You've had it tested. Nick, by a private lab, yes. JJ, and? Nick, someone's clearly wiped it down, but there are still minute traces of blood embedded in the wood. Clearly, we haven't yet been able to establish whose. Layla Furness, quietly. Amelie. It was Amelie who cleaned it. The blood Mara saw in the utility room, it was from this. She must have seen what happened. She'd known the truth this whole time. Her cheeks are flushed. Some of them are glancing towards Guy. But the screen is off camera. We can't see him. Bill Serafini shaking his head. No wonder she needed therapy. Jeez, that poor kid. Mitchell Clark frowning. So what was in the washing machine? J.J. Norton turning to him. My guess would be his pajamas. They'd have been soaked in it. Layla Furness. Oh, she must have washed him. Changed him, put him back to bed. J.J. Norton, nodding. And then let Mara think that she was responsible, that she was the killer. She'd been protecting her little brother for nigh on 20 years. Mitchell Clark. But she couldn't really have thought he'd be locked up, surely. He was only 10 years old, for Pete's sake. Hugo Fraser, quietly. So were the boys who killed Jamie Bulger. They were sent to prison, and they were still there 10 years later, when Luke was killed. It was all over the papers. And Amelie was 13, easily old enough to have known all about the case. Mitchell Clark. But the Bulger killers were psychopaths. We're talking about Guy. What could lead a normal 10-year-old kid to do something like that? Layla Furness. But 10-year-olds aren't normal, Mitch. At least not in the way adults are. Like I've said before, children don't think like adults. You can't talk about motive with a child that age. It's just impulse. And that impulse could have been everything from a visceral dislike of the man who took his father's place to being angry about missing a TV program or
Not getting to play cricket? J.J. Norton to Layla. Do you think Guy even remembers what happened? He doesn't seem to. In fact, the way Wilson described it, he could have been sleepwalking. Layla Furness. I don't think he has any recollection at all. He can't do. He wouldn't have been involved in this if he did. Hugo Fraser intervening. But we are talking about someone with a chronic case of selective memory. What about the bloody wedding cake? He claims he doesn't remember doing that either. Layla Furness. No, I don't think it's selective memory. Or at least not in the way you mean. Remember back at the start when he said he was the only one present when his father collapsed and died? He was 6 years old. Imagine the impact of something as sudden and violent as that on a child that age. Mitchell Clark nodding. And yet he seems to have blocked that out entirely. A psychotic episode brought on by jealousy of Luke's relationship with his mother. Maybe. I mean... Oh, wait. Who wants to call it now? Oh man, I don't even want to say it, because he was 6 years old at the time, but what if the heart attack wasn't a heart attack? What if Guy did that too? What if he has, like, multiple personality disorder or something, or... I don't want to go too far into it. I don't know. I'm just gonna keep reading. I don't know. I don't want it to be Guy. I want him to be an innocent. I don't like it. Let's keep reading. Layla Furness. That's precisely my point. Children who experience serious trauma that young can't process it properly. So the memory is, in effect, jammed. I've seen it again and again in children who've experienced abuse. They retreat into dissociation as a survival mechanism. Mitchell Clark. I'm not sure I know what you mean by dissociation. What sort of behaviour are we talking about? Layla Furness. The child can go into a fugue state, zone out. She takes a deep breath. They can also exhibit violent and apparently random fits of anger. Fits they almost never remember anything about afterwards. The following dialogue continues over reconstruction. A high camera angle above the garden of Dorney Place. It's dark, raining, light streaming from the wide-open back door of the house. The camera gradually drops to ground level. Luke is lying face up on the steps. Guy is standing over him, a cricket bat in his hand. Luke appears to be coming to, but as he starts to move, Guy raises the bat above his head and lets it fall, heavily, once, twice. The body jerks, then lies still, but the blows still rain down. The camera closes in slowly on the face of the little boy. Blood is running down his forehead, his cheeks, his hair. The close-up continues until all we can see are the child's eyes. They are completely blank. Mitchell Clark. So what might induce a violent reaction like this? Layla Furness. It varies. A particular noise or smell might be enough to evoke the original trauma, but there can be visual triggers too. Hugo Fraser nodding. Like seeing someone collapse in front of them, exactly the same way their father did. Layla Furness. And the point is that, at a subconscious level, Guy associated that event with the father he loved going away and never coming back. This is a little boy who was experiencing profound grief over the loss of his father, and not only had no one apparently noticed that fact, but the trauma he'd experienced at the time of the death had prevented his grief from being expressed in any remotely healthy way. He was angry and bereft and confused. Nothing in his world made sense to him anymore. The only thing that did make sense was that it was all fine until Luke came along. In his young mind, it was all Luke's fault. And that night, deep in a dissociative state, he did something about it. He made Luke go away too. Cut back to studio. Layla sits back and shakes her head. She looks deeply troubled. I blame myself. I should have put all this together long before. All the signs were there. All those photos of him looking lost and unhappy, the disruptive behavior, the daydreaming, even the cake. She takes a deep breath and turns toward the screen. Guy, trust me. You need to deal with this properly this time. You need to talk to someone. She stops. The camera swings slowly round past the team so that we can see the screen. There's no one there. The chair Guy was sitting on is empty. Cut to footage from episode 1. Guy is sitting in the room of Dorney Place, wearing a crisp white shirt and jeans, the expensive Breitling watch his mother gave him, the silver wrist chain. He looks happy and relaxed on the brink of a life-changing opportunity. Nick Vincent, off-screen. So now it's 2023, and it's been nearly 20 years since all this happened. Why are you revisiting it now? Guy Howard. Because I want to know the truth. Because that's what I do as a filmmaker. And because my family has lived with this thing hanging over our heads for almost 2 decades. And until someone finds out who did it and puts him away, none of us will ever have any peace. I want to find the truth. Whatever that truth turns out to be. Fade out. End credits! That's where the episode ends. That cannot be where the episode ends! Episode 7 and 8 is up next. No. I'm not ready. Wait, what percentage are we at now? We're at 99%. Wait a minute. I need to see how... Oh, okay. We're almost done, so we're going to keep going. We only have a couple pages. Okay. We are almost done with this. We're almost done with this book, you guys. Almost done. Okay. Importance. Hi. This is an email. Date, Sunday, 26/11/2023, 9:18. From Bill Serafini to David Schulman. Subject. Update. David, thanks for your time Monday. As agreed, now we know our con's real name was Jonah McKenna. I'll step up my efforts on the dormant, offshore, and Swiss bank accounts, and engage a specialty consultancy with expertise in that area. My immediate priority will be to find the sister, since Rebecca McKenna is almost certainly your brother's next of kin, and without her, our ability to engage meaningfully with any financial institutions still holding assets in Jonah McKenna's name will be severely limited. That said, Miss McKenna continues to prove elusive, not least because we can't be sure if she is still going by that name. Tarek Osmond tells me his team have made no discernible progress with the international medical and nursing organizations, and I'm afraid law enforcement is unlikely to be much help either. Even if the Brits decide to pursue a prosecution against Guy, which, personally, I doubt, given the lapse of time, his age when the crime was committed, and the mental health issues he was clearly laboring under at the time, I query whether the Met will think it's value for money spending taxpayer dollars running the system down. They already have sufficient circumstantial evidence confirming McKenna's identity. But there are still other options. I'm reaching out to my contacts at Interpol and in the specialist MISPERS sector to see if they might be able to assist. With that in mind, I'm in the process of organizing a range of high-quality age progression images, i.e. with and without the glasses, with her original red hair color, and with other dyes and lengths. We just have to hope we get a hit. In the meantime, enjoy Jackson Hole. The weather forecast over the next few days is looking good, snow-wise. Best wishes and happy holidays to the family. Bill. The Times, 30th of November, 2023. Infamous director found dead after devastating... No! Infamous director found dead after devastating revelations. Luke Ryder, case claims another victim. Luke Ryder, after the sensational ending to the showrunner series Infamous, which aired on November 7th, the notorious Camden Hill murder case has taken yet another shocking turn. Guy Howard, the director of the series and stepson of the victim, was revealed in the closing moments of the final episode to be the real killer of Jonah McKenna, who married Howard's mother as Luke Ryder in 2001. Howard was arrested last week and released on police bail while the Crown Prosecution Service reviews the case in the light of new information uncovered by the series, which had initially implicated Howard's sister. One of the most shocking revelations of the final episode was the production team's discovery of a child's cricket bat, once the property of Mr. Howard, which still bears traces of blood and could therefore have been the weapon used to attack Luke Ryder on the night of his death. Police sources have confirmed that this has been taken for a full forensic examination. Avon and Somerset police responded to a 999 call just after 3 p.m. yesterday when Howard's mother, Caroline Boyer, who married former Ambassador Jeremy Boyer in 2009, returned from a doctor's appointment with her carer. Mrs. Boyer was taken to Yeovil Hospital by ambulance after collapsing at the something. Howard, 30, is believed to have died sometime yesterday morning after an apparent heart attack, which may have been the result of an overdose. Although no suicide note was found, and the room was in some disarray with items possibly missing, it is understood that the police are not treating the death as suspicious. Friends of the filmmaker told us that he was utterly devastated by the revelations made in the program and had no memory of any such assault. A sighting by an elderly neighbor of a red-haired woman in glasses and a nurse's uniform going into the house has been discounted by the police. A sighting by an elderly neighbor of a red-haired woman in glasses and a nurse's uniform going into the house has been discounted by the police after the agency providing Mrs. Boyer's care confirmed they made no visit yesterday and have no staff answering that description. Luke Ryder's real sister. Luke Ryder's real sister had red hair. Another newspaper article, the Flamborough Gazette, 27 June 2024. Your community paper since 1968. All fire hydrants are now painted. Michael Landry. A project that... Wait, is this important? Mystery Watch still unclaimed. I'll just read both. The fire hydrants are now painted. A project that has started with a trucking accident has marked its completion with a special event at Flamborough Junior High School when a truck wrecked a fire hydrant on Victoria Street on October 2021 just outside the school. Pupils in the 7th grade class decided they would make their own contribution to restoring and brightening up the area. The replacement hydrant was painted that weekend, and since then, local businesses have sponsored the children to repaint their local hydrants in bright colors, with the proceeds going to local charities. Speaking at the event, head teacher Matthew Surtees said, "This has been a genuine community effort and has shown the children the value of teamwork and how even small positive acts can make a big difference." Mystery Watch still unclaimed. According to Sergeant Pierre Doucet of Flamborough County Police, a valuable watch found in the graveyard of St. Lawrence Church 6 months ago has still not been claimed. The man's watch, a Breitling Avenger, has a chrome strap and was found lying on the memorial local children called Jonah and the Whale. The engraving on the back has not been revealed, so the owner can be identified if they come forward, but it is believed to include a first name with the initial G and reference to a 21st birthday. Quite apart from the sentimental value, it's such an expensive watch, I can't believe it hasn't been missed, says Sergeant Doucet. If you know who might have lost it, please get in touch with us at the Flamborough Police Station. Luke Ryder's real sister killed Guy, stole his watch, and put the watch on Luke Ryder's original grave. The one when he pretended to die and went missing and they just assumed he was dead. That grave, Jonah and the Whale. Oh my word! And that's it. Just acknowledgements left. Please tell me the rest of you
are reeling as much as I am, I don't know how to process that. So Guy did it. Amelie found him, cleaned him up, pretended it didn't happen. Mara thought Amelie did it, and Amelie let her. And poor Caroline, old and in her Alzheimer's mind, had to find her son, we know, murdered. But it looked like a heart attack. This was a wild ride. Okay. Thoughts. What do we think of that wild ending? Did any of you suspect Guy in any way, shape, or form? Did any of you think he could be it? Because I didn't have Guy on my radar at all. Specifically because he was leading this investigation. He's the one who wanted to go deep into this and dig up everything. It never occurred to me. Never occurred to me. But the behavior of him being mad at the wedding cake and destroying that, and, you know, it didn't ring any bells for me. It just seemed like poor adjusting to a new situation. Kids act out all the time when something changes. It's their way of processing. It's their way of coping. It never rang any alarm bells for me that was a psychotic problem. Well, everyone, that is the end of Murder in the Family. And boy, was it murder in the family. Oh, wow. I'm going to be reeling about this for a good while. And that also means I need to get hopping on the next mystery we need to solve. I have a book in mind that I would like to start up. Let me find it. Let me look it up on my Kindle. What's it called? 1 second. Is it A Most Puzzling Murder? I think. Yes. It's called A Most Puzzling Murder by Bianca Marquis. Looks like... Can you see that? Is that going to show up? Yeah. That's what it looks like. Let me read you the description, and you guys can let me know if this sounds like something you'd like to pursue. It's a puzzle book, if that helps you. There's lots of puzzles. There's lots of things to solve. Apparently, there are different areas in the plot where you can choose your own adventure. You flip to a certain page and be that person's POV, almost like a video game where you get to choose the person who's leading the charge. It seems very involved in an awesome way. How do you solve a murder that hasn't happened yet? Destiny Whip is a former child prodigy, world-renowned enigmatologist, and very, very alone. A life filled with loss has made her a recluse, an existence she's content to endure until a letter arrives, inviting her to interview for the position of Scruffmore family historian. Not only does an internet search for the name yield almost nothing, it's a role she never applied to in the first place. She decodes the invitation's hidden message with ease, and its promise to reveal her family secrets proves too powerful to draw for the orphaned Destiny, who soon finds herself on Eerie Island. It's a place whose inhabitants are almost as inhospitable as the tempestuous weather. The Scruffmores themselves turn out to be not much better.
a snarled mess of secrets and motives connected by their mistrust for one another. Their newly arrived guest proves to be just as much an enigma to them as they are to her. While Destiny slowly works to unravel the mysteries hidden throughout the ominous castle, she struggles to interpret disturbing nightly visions of what is to come. In the midst of cryptic ciphers, hidden passages, and the family's magical line of succession, Destiny is certain of two things. One of the Scruffmores is going to die, and she's running out of time to stop it. Interspersed with riddles and puzzles that both Destiny and the reader must solve, A Most Puzzling Murder is a one-of-a-kind mystery that will leave you guessing and gasping until the very last page. That's one option. I also just saw another book that looked good. It's not as involved as the one I just read to you, where there's like lots of puzzles and like inside the book. I read it at a Barnes and Noble the last time I was there. It literally says this book is meant to be written in and scribbled on and messed with, so it's very interactive. This other book that could be an option for us, I don't think is. I think it's literally just a read through. That one's called Murder Among the Stacks. Murder Among the Stacks. No results found. That is false. That is very false. Let me try Audible instead. See if I have any more luck. Murder Among the Stacks. Okay. Let's see what that one is. Oh, there's no summary? Well, that's silly. Okay, hang on. Let's try Amazon. Is it maybe not out yet? Murder Among the Stacks. There, it shows up. Looks like this. Let's see what the description is. There's a description. A cozy mystery story combined with themed word search puzzles creates an interactive, it is interactive, and charming whodunit experience in this fun new format that invites you to solve the case as you uncover clues. Abby Jones has it all figured out. Moving to Cranberry Creek will give her the fresh start she needs. From opening her brand new bookstore on Main Street to learning to love her busybody landlady Myrna, to spending her time on her favorite cozy hobby, word searches. Abby has her hands full, but when a famous author is mysteriously murdered at her bookstore's opening event, her new future is at stake. It's up to Abby, with the help of some new friends, to solve the case. So, if you wouldn't mind, whether you're watching it now, live, or after the fact, could you comment in the comment section either Murder Among the Stacks, which is a more cozy but still interactive murder whodunit that we can look at, or A Most Puzzling Murder, which seems like it could be a little bit more gritty, maybe a little bit darker. The fact that she has nightmares makes me a little nervous of how scary this could be. I'm not a scary kind of person. I'm not a scary person, but I don't love scary things. So like disturbing nightly visions is what makes me kind of pause. But I'm happy to try, and if we have to skip something and move on, we will totally do that. I'm not afraid to skip sections if they're a little too much. But let me know. A Most Puzzling Murder or Murder Among the Stacks. Or, as a third option, if you have any suggestions of an interactive whodunit book that you've either heard of or read yourself and loved and think would be a great addition to our Murder Mystery Monday series, let me know in a comment.
because I'm not going to pretend I know every book out there. And I'm very open to suggestions. But until then, thank you so much for joining me for Murder in the Family. This was a crazy, crazy good time. I'm so glad you've been on this adventure with me. This series was just a wild shot in the dark. It was something I wanted to do. Nobody was clamoring for it. I just thought it could be fun. And the fact that so many of you are loving it and enjoying it and want me to do more just makes my heart really happy. So thank you for that. I guess I'm going to leave it here. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you solving this whodunit with me, and I will see you next Monday. Love you guys. Mwah. Bye.